is Octave Leap. Innovation, regeneration, and human optimization.
Welcome to the Octave Leap live stream. And we're back at it here again this week, talking about one of my favorite subjects and passions, which is high frequency music. And the title of today's topic is harmonic geometry, because it does relate to geometry, it relates to the cosmos, it relates to us. It's got a lot of relation because it's all about vibration, and I really didn't mean for that to rhyme. But how are you all doing? I see we've got quite a few people on the live stream, lots of people chatting. It's great to see all of you. Great to see you, Susan again, Kathy, Bianca, Luli. Beautiful to see you on this fine Tuesday. I also have something really cool that I want to share with everybody. That is our website, octaveleap.com, is now live. And it's got some mountains here because I'm Canadian and I come from the Rocky Mountains. So this is like home for me. And it also is, that subtle imagery of reaching higher for things. But what's mostly important here is if you ever want to know what the next live stream is about or where you can find it, you go here, you click that, it'll take you right to the live stream. So it's that easy, octaveleap.com. The next live stream will always be posted here. You can send your friends here or whatever. Then there's the other stuff we offer, like coaching and the events. So we've got some amazing upcoming events. I just like looking at these posters, actually, just because the design team I have is phenomenal. I got to shout out to them again. They are absolutely awesome. So we've got Practical Human Design coming up on April 8th and Empowering Women Financially on the 29th and 30th of April. And of course, Crypto Revolution is an old one that's still popular. I mean, people still love this course, and it's jam-packed with info for people that want to get into cryptocurrency. So I just wanted to show you, we've got a live website now, which really makes me happy because we can put all sorts of resources on that website. We're going to have blogs, we're going to have videos, we're going to have how-tos. Everything will be on the website. So you don't have to go trying to scour the internet for information about what we do here. We're going to put it all and we're going to channel it all through the website, which is going to be really awesome. So thank you for saying congratulations. And if you want to stay up to date, that's really the best place. I was working on that site, just trying to get those final tweaks all weekend, and I kind of like it. I get a kick out of doing the tech stuff sometimes of websites and all that kind of stuff. And that's also why I like doing this high frequency music type of thing, because it's kind of technical, it's kind of nerdy, but it changes your state of being. Okay, so we're going to jump in here because I've actually made you a very sweet presentation today. So I'm just going to bring it up for you so you can see exactly what we're here to talk about. So this is called harmonic geometry, and what this is about, harmonic geometry, is how music attunes us. So this is going to be a multi-part series. So this is a very big topic. Somebody was asking me, what's high frequency music? And I didn't even know where to start. So I said, I'm going to do a live stream on this. And then I decided I've got to break this into multiple parts because this is such a large and fascinating topic. So we're going to start at the beginning. I love, if anybody knows the Greek philosopher Pythagoras, he is basically the granddaddy of sound healing, music therapy. The guy used to run a mystery school. He invented not stringed instruments, but he invented sort of the mathematics of separating strings and actually calculating how that correlates to pitch. So like guitars, violins, all of those instruments that are based on shortening or lengthening strings in order to change the pitch. He also invented the Pythagorean theorem, which was basically what every surveyor uses. It's the right angle triangle formula that you learn in like grade 10 math. This guy did a lot of stuff, 2,500 years ago. But he also said this, he's a smart guy too. The highest goal of music is to connect one's soul to their divine nature, not entertainment. Okay? So we're not going to be talking about Katy Perry here. We're not going to be talking about, any hit Michael Jackson songs. We're going to be talking about what music does to enliven us, what music does to get our internal circuitry dancing. So, in the ancient mystery schools of Kemet, Old Egypt, they taught a 40-year curriculum of self-study and natural sciences. They considered these 4 subjects to be the most important. So if they wanted to understand the natural world and natural law and how it all worked, how above, as above, so below, how as without, so within, how that all related through mathematics, geometry, astronomy, and music. And they believed that these 4 subjects were closely related. So we call this harmonic geometry because there's a relation between music and geometry. There's a relation between music and astronomy. There's a relation, of course, between music and mathematics. To understand how music affects us, we need to understand how different parts of our bodies respond to frequency. Okay, so I'm just going to go into the chat here, and I'm going to see, does anybody have any ideas of how music might affect us? How does music affect you? That's a really good place to start. So I'm just going to throw it out there for people. And here, I'll even put it up here. Nice question. How does listening to music affect you? There we go. There's a question for you. I love this. I love this technology and this interactive type of thing. So go ahead, let me know, how does music affect you? Just put it in the comments and I'll come back to these in a little bit. Right on. Let's continue on now with our presentation here. So this is what is happening more on a scientific level, which we're going to dive into. But your felt sense experience of what music does to you is just as important. And in fact, it's more important because it's got the personal touch. This is just the sciencey stuff. So we're going to start by talking about the brain. So the brain is electric in nature, and it is the frequency vault in which we experience reality. So depending on the dominant brainwave frequency, we're going to basically have a very different experience of reality. So if our brain is vibrating between 13 and 32 hertz, it's called beta state. It's awake, alert consciousness, thinking, excitement, driving, things going on. Beta is very much duality. It's the experience of duality because we have to be alert. It's survival in many ways. It's stress in many ways. Most people in the modern world are so overstimulated that they remain in beta for most of their life. Our forefathers and our ancestors, they were able to have periods of understimulation throughout their day, which would allow them to go into these deeper brainwave states just naturally through the course of the day. There's another one here called gamma, which is very high frequency, 32 to 100 hertz. And this is like, I call it like the eureka experience. Have you ever had like a big epiphany and you get like a rush of energy and it's super euphoric? Basically, they've shown that when you're in gamma, all the different parts of your brain are lighting up. So your brain is thinking very holistically, but it's sort of like a nature's caffeine high in many ways. So it's a very energized experience, and often very there's often big downloads or outpouring of information. Alpha is when you're physically and mentally relaxed. I call it the staring at the sunset phenomena. You're sitting on the beach with a loved one, looking at the sun, or maybe alone, relaxed, there's a nice breeze, and you just sort of like start to tune out the noise and you come back into what's important in life. And slower than that this is normally associated with the hypnagogic state. So when you're just drifting off to sleep, you kind of go through the gateway of theta. And that's sort of, I don't know if you've ever woken up before falling asleep and you kind of have weird thoughts. It's because your brain is almost drifting into the deep sleep state. And this is also a state, though, that very experienced meditators can get to on a daily basis, or people who do transpersonal psychology, or real deal psychics, and people who work with very deep intuitive practices, they can get there. So it's a very deep, creative, slow, relaxed, meditative state. And then we have delta, and delta is usually where we go when we're KO'd, like, you know, the real like level 4 REM, you know, the real rested sleep. Some say that, you know, if you are in delta when you're awake, you're having sort of an experience of oneness. And many scientists also say too that when you're asleep, even though you don't remember it a lot of the time, you're sort of in this state of oneness. All right, I'm just going to head back here and just check on people and see what do they. Okay, so let's take a look at what they experience when they listen to music. So, deepening emotions, inspiration to move, evoke changes in vibration, mood, state of being. What's the difference between music and sound? Well, we're going to get there. Attention shift from busy mind to my body. Okay, so this is a big reminder of the things that people find important in their lives, the things that they really value, entering into those juicy flow states, essentially. This is what it's doing to your brain. So if you're listening to very calming music, it's going to bring your brainwave states lower, and you're listening to exciting music, and it's probably going to boost you up into gamma. You know, I used to play a lot of fast music, you know, punk and rock and heavy metal. And when you get really excited playing that, and you know the whole band's playing fast and you're all together, you can get into gamma. You can get into a very excited gamma state. But anyway, let's talk about what else the brain is doing. So when the brain's dominant frequency shifts, it sends neuropeptides, which are the messengers of the brain, and they run through the intricate network of nerves in our body. So we literally have a different somatic experience. So when our brain calms down, it changes the way that we feel physically because of all the neuropeptides running through the nerve networks in our nervous system. And I love this quote, that we experience reality through our nervous system. I did hear that from somebody, and I keep saying it because that is the experience of life you're having. So if your nervous system is triggered or it has a stress response somewhere, that's how you're going to experience reality. That's going to be a filter that you're always going to perceive reality through. And so sometimes music can bring us beyond those states of triggering, beyond those states of stress, and we can see it from a different perspective and maybe rectify, heal, and integrate that experience so it no longer gets in the way and it no longer acts as an obstruction to the way that we want to perceive reality. But the problem is, especially nowadays, most people are too overstimulated for their brains or nervous system to calm down properly. So some of the sources of overstimulation, technology, of course. You know, if we're on our phones, we're probably in our head. If we're on our computer, probably in our head. I know someone I respect greatly who's into Chinese medicine says that the optimal state of the human being is when they have warm feet, cool head. So most of their energy is in the lower extremities in the feet, connected closer to the earth, and the head is calm, clear, and cool. However, when we use technology, what they see is that the energy in the body, the chi, runs up to the head, and it gets concentrated in the head, and they have hot head, cool feet. And that is the state that most people, you know, working on computers, on their phones all day, that they end up in. And that's where a lot of the anxiety, a lot of the sleep problems, a lot of depression comes from. It's because our body's inner energy balance has been reversed, essentially. So another source of overstimulation, of course, is the background hum of electricity. You know, I don't know what it is in your country, but in Canada, it's about 60 volts. In some countries, it's 50 to 60 volts. So, hertz, sorry. So, in training your brain faster. See, in South Africa, we get load shedding where they shut the power off basically for 2 hours or 4 hours at a time. And I can feel when that power gets shut off in my whole neighborhood, everything just goes boo. And then I can feel when it comes on, even before the lights come on, even before anything else, there's a powering down when they go off and a powering back up when they come on. And that's sort of the background baseline that we don't even notice, is the hum of electricity that's slowly entraining our brains. And that's why when we did a documentary, Vanessa and I, when we went out to the desert, and there was nothing, no sound, nothing, no electricity. And it was like, wow, we can finally unpack, we can finally unwind. Our brains can finally truly entrain into those slower, natural frequency ranges. Stress. Stress overstimulates us because when we're stressed out, the body's in fight or flight. It's looking for information to latch onto, to assess the situation. You know, stress in our distant past was we're being chased by a large animal. We need to know what information can get us to safety. Do we need to climb a tree? Do we need to jump across a river? So we're always scanning for that. Of course, nowadays it's sort of this latent stress that's in the background. You know, you're in the shopping center and you got like a cart in front of you, and it's the same bodily experience as being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, but you're pushing a shopping cart and you're thinking about what you got to do and when you got to do stuff and if you got to go to work and if you have enough money and all that kind of thing. But your body's basically running and pumping out cortisol in a hyper-stimulated manner as though there's something dangerous in your immediate environment. Busy lifestyle. So keeping ourselves too busy contributes to stress, contributes to overstimulation. Insufficient downtime and convenience solutions. So we don't take enough self-care time. That's obvious because we'll explain that more when we get into the next section. And then finally, the convenience solutions. So what's a good convenience solution is, you know, driving instead of walking somewhere. If you have to walk somewhere, that's a nice slow pace. You can allow yourself to calm down and to relax. But when you drive, you know, you've got to get in the car and it's more stimulating. So that's an example of a convenience solution. And there's all these little things, like maybe, you know, you press a button, Uber Eats shows up with food, whereas maybe you would take the time to prepare the meal and that would be sort of more of a ritual for you that allowed you to calm down and relax. So these are some examples of overstimulation in our lives. So the brain can be stimulated to relax using music. So if we're overstimulated, we might want to use something like music to help us relax. Sort of like if you're learning to ride a bike, you might want to start with training wheels on the bike. So this is what it can do if we're chronically overstimulated. This is helpful if someone has built up resistance to understimulation. I call this the chronic buffer. So if we have a chronic buffer, then physiologically the brain doesn't go into those deeper states. The doesn't naturally go into alpha or theta very easily. It stays in beta, and I call it the chronic buffer. So it's sort of like a barrier between relaxation, and that chronic buffer needs to be sort of penetrated or broken through, and music can help with that, where music can entrain our brains and bring us down there. So it's like an assistant in a way. It's like, you know, if you go to the gym and you try to do like chin-ups and you can't do one because maybe like you just don't have the upper body strength, but you have the little thing, or you have a friend that comes and they hold your legs and all of a sudden you can do 10 chin-ups. So that's sort of the assistant there. So the dominant frequency of the brain begins to match the tempo of the music. This may also be more directly emphasized by the use of monaural, binaural, and isochronic tones. So there's special things called brainwave entrainment. We're not going to cover that today, but they've done research to show that you can inject these tones behind the music. And these tones, basically, they directly take the brain from sort of a beta state and entrain it downwards and slow it down and bring it into that deeper, more relaxed, sometimes more meditative state. All right, how are you guys holding up over here? Yes, lots of chat about music and what sound does to people. This is awesome. So we're going to continue on here and talk about the heart. All this brain stuff gets a little too mental after a while, a little too cerebral, pardon the pun. So let's speak about the heart. The heart is electromagnetic in nature and pulsates at regular intervals. Each heartbeat pulsates our state into a toroidal field around us. So our vibrational state is being pulsated around us, you know, and so when you're around somebody and you can feel an emotional shift in them, it's because that's being broadcasted out from their heart. And so we're all kind of walking around, and I think most people get this. I mean, this is, you know, we've all seen What the Bleep Do We Know, or some of these other Gaia.com type of things. We know this. This is a very common picture. Heart rate variability is a more interesting scientific term, though. It's the difference in time between heartbeats. You see, our heartbeats don't actually all line up perfectly. They're not in even tempo. There's a slight little variation. And specialized devices that can measure the variability between heartbeats can tell us something about our health and our nervous system. And our nervous system has two main settings: the sympathetic, where this is your fight or flight response, and it manages an increase in heart rate and blood pressure in emergency situations. But like I said, chronic stress, overstimulation, the type of modern lifestyles often leave people primarily in their sympathetic, and they don't get enough time in the parasympathetic. And our ancestors who used to walk uphill both ways to work, those stories the granddad used to tell us, and maybe didn't have electricity, so they're just used to light candles and basically sit and read by the candles of the fire at night. Well, that would relax them, and they would help to balance out the sympathetic nervous system and controls the natural relaxation response, especially after we've been in fight or flight. Controls slowing your heart rate and blood pressure, especially when you're taking it easy. So this is really the self-care side of things, the slowing it down, the JOMO, the joy of missing out. That really activates the parasympathetic, and music does that too, especially calming music. Music has a direct effect on both our heart rate and our heart rate variability. This is scientific, by the way. They've done many studies that have shown this, that basically when people are listening to music and they're hooked up to a heart rate variability monitor, it changes quite drastically with the actual style of music that's being played, because that changes the signal that our heart broadcasts by changing the emotional state that we're experiencing. When you're listening to music that calms you or moves you emotionally, it is actually a benefit to the functioning of your heart. Oh, interesting. So, listening to music that's very evocative, especially slower tempo music with a lot of emotion in it, it really actually benefits the way the heart works. It improves the heart rate variability. And this is a very interesting one, the blood and bodily fluids, because this has to do with something called cymatics. And this is the intermolecular patterns that are formed. This is the sonic geometry. So as music vibrates or sound vibrates at a certain frequency, it can create geometric patterns on an intermolecular level. And so what that does is, as Dr. Masaru Emoto did a number of experiments where he exposed water to different styles of music and shock froze them. So immediately after exposing them, he shock froze them. So he tried to capture that state that they were in. And then he looked at the resulting crystalline ice structure. And what he showed is when he played classical music, it formed this very harmonious six-sided geometric pattern to Symphony 40 by Mozart. And when he played heavy metal, there was just complete discord. And remember here, this is water, but of course we are I think this is 70, 80, 90% water. We're mostly water. So the water in our blood, in our bodily fluids then takes on this shape. So that's what's really important. And what I want you to do too is when you're listening to music, try to feel the effect that that's having on your bodily fluids. I know it sounds strange, but just do it. Just see if you can start to notice that effect. It'll make you more aware of subtle energies. It'll make you more aware of the nuances of how the music is affecting you on deeper and deeper levels. It's really cool, actually. And even knowing this starts to begin to move our awareness in that direction. Here's another thing that's very interesting. So in addition to the style, the genre of the music, the particular frequency is important. So above here we see water is exposed to a sound vibration at 432 hertz, and it forms what's called a harmonious nodal pattern, meaning it makes a very clear geometric pattern. Water exposed to sound vibration at 440 hertz does not. And the reason for that is because there's different nodes. And what a node is it's sort of like when you're on an old radio and you get one radio station, let's say here, and then another radio station here. And this is where the signal's coming in clearly. There are two different stations, but the signal's coming in clearly. Now, in between them, you're going to just get noise and you're going to get interference and distortion. And so 440 is in an interference and distortion frequency. 432 is at a radio station or harmonious node. Similarly, slightly above this, there's another harmonious node. So 432 isn't the be-all, end-all that, a lot of people say. Like, people just say if you listen to 432, you just blast it out of your third eye and blah, 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 blah. A lot of people say this in the New Age scene, and I kind of laugh. It's true, there are many beneficial properties to it, but it's not the only one. It's not the be-all, end-all. It is a very nice frequency, and it works in many circumstances. But there are a lot more, which we will cover in this series, that do some pretty amazing things. So there's a question here. If water is strongly affected by frequency, what about human beings who are made mostly out of water? So our science has really only scratched the surface with this. Music therapy, though, is gaining popularity as a treatment in certain progressive hospitals for cancer and for terminal illness. But having reported, and done many live sessions with people, both live streaming, and before that I was working at a place with my partner Vanessa, where we were sound practitioners, and I would see this every day. And, I asked her too, what are the results? And they're very much similar. So what happens when music is used intentionally? When the right type of music is used in the right environment for the right reason, this is the kind of stuff that you can see. So these are the kind of results that we would notice. Emotional releases and the release of traumatic experiences. So people were able to revisit traumatic experiences and release them. And, sometimes these are huge shifts. And people would need time afterwards to integrate a simple music therapy or sound therapy session. Decrease physical tension in the body. So literally going in, and I call it cleaning out the pipes, because it would go in and clean out the gunk of stagnant tension and stagnant life force in the body. Greater calmness and relaxation. Stress reduction. Like I said, it actually just takes your brain at that beta frequency and just brings it down nicely if you, let's say, can't relax on your own that easily. Better present moment awareness, deeper sleep, improved digestion. So there's physiological differences here. Deeper sleep, better digestion. Of course, sleep and digestion, these are the pillars of good health. Feeling more aligned and grounded, heightened awareness of subtle energies, and improved intuitive abilities. This is just a short list of things that, we witnessed. There's a lot more as well. There's something primordial about the therapeutic effects of music. It is like a panacea for many of the ailments we face today. Sound and vibration can, if used properly, can really tune us back into alignment, quite literally, because we're vibrational beings. Our heart is electromagnetic. Our brain is electric. We are frequency in these various ways. Another great quote from Pythagoras is, "There is geometry in the humming of the strings. There is music in the spacing of the spheres." And what he's talking about here is that the music in the heavens, there's music of the spheres, as he called it, of the planets going around based on their spacing and their trajectory. And just like there is in the humming of strings. And in fact, I've got a guest on today that's actually worked with this and actually has a lot to say on this matter. Yes, so some people are asking a lot of, are saying things in here, and I just want to bring them up. So have you worked with tuning forks? Yes, tuning forks are very, very incredible. Crystal tuning forks, metal tuning forks. We have a tuning fork here, you just ding it, and it literally clears the energy of a space. I think it's 404 hertz. You just walk around the room and it dissipates anything that shouldn't be there. And you just do that by dinging this. No sprays, no nothing, no refill bottles, no chemicals. And someone else says, your heart rate variability has a role in how resilient you are. Absolutely. Heart rate variability is such an important factor for health in many, many, many different ways. And music is one of those things that can really help to strengthen that. Okay, so I'm going to bring on somebody who knows a thing or two about sound and music. And this is my beautiful, lovely partner, Vanessa, who I met, what was that, 4 years ago on a full moon at her place of work, which happened to be Pyramids in Bali during a ceremony. And music was the first thing that brought us together, and we stayed in touch. And that's basically our story, has been about music and making music, and then after that, making babies as well. But anyway, I'd like to give you a warm welcome. How are you today, babe?
I'm very well, thanks, babe. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Great.
Yes, loud and clear.
Awesome. Great. It feels awesome to be part of the show. And yeah, as we met through music, like you said, and the results of listening to lots of high frequency music, we created a very special being. And maybe she wants to say hi.
Yeah,
Do you want
maybe
to say
she wants to
hi?
say hi.
Maybe you want to
Oh
say hi
goodness.
to everyone.
I'm nervous. This is our baby. This is our baby daughter. She's smiling. She happy. Up a little higher.
Hello.
There we go. Oh, look at her. Yeah. Hi, baby.
Yeah, and
Yes,
she's the
that
result
baby's been
of
exposed to
beautiful
a lot
music,
of
isn't
sound
she?
healing. But anyway, thank you for the introduction. Um, how about you give a nice complimentary perspective for everybody on what is high frequency music, if you had to explain this concept, and how do you go about creating it? Like, what are the components that go along with creating this?
Yes. So in short, and just to add on what you were explaining about high frequency music, it's really sound and music that creates a harmonic state. Our environment in harmony, our inner being in harmony. And then the opposite of that would be sounds that create and music that creates dissonance. So and we know there are certain corporations, institutions, people who are specifically using in frequencies intentionally to create undesirable outcomes, such as fear and these things that we wear on a mask, etc., etc. So when I'm intentionally working with high frequency music, it's really important to understand or to be conscious of the intention that you're putting behind the frequency. Because I like to use the simple formula that frequency plus intention equals creation, right? So a lot of people, will are using frequencies unconsciously and then creating undesirable creations and outcomes in their lives through patternings, etc., because they're not conscious of the intention behind the frequency. So frequency
Yeah,
plus intention equals creation. And so,
there's a
when
lot
we're
of
using a
old
specific,
timers who say,
yes,
music just isn't what it used to be like when I grew up. And I think that the music that gets created now, it reflects the level of consciousness and the level of maybe of dissonance and disharmony in the current generations versus the older ones. I'm not saying all music's like that, but
yeah,
there's a lot of people. If you look at what is in mainstream music and what they're singing about, I mean, it's pretty crude, not high frequency things. And people just listen to it and they say, "Oh yeah, it makes me excited or it pumps me up." But what's it really doing?
yeah, exactly. What is it creating? And so when we are very intentional with the frequencies that we are using and really submerging them with love and harmony, then we create this beautiful world or creation. And there's something so sweet, right, about being part of or participating in creation. I mean, I just look at our little one and I'm like, wow, what was the
Hmm.
frequency and intention to create this beautiful creation that we've created? So there's this beautiful sweetness in being part of the creation process. And that
Hmm.
can be in music that you create, or it's a piece of artwork or a child. And so it's really important to, yeah, just be really conscious in your intentions when working with frequency.
Yeah.
And so with my creations, I've studied the works of Rudolf Steiner, and as some of you will know, anthroposophy, and there's a big part of our work section on the planets. And he also speaks about Pythagoras and the music of the spheres, and how these planets, through our evolutionary journey of the human being coming into Earth, that we actually go through a whole specific all the planets as we evolve and come down into Earth. So I love to work with the planets, and I know David will be speaking about the planets, I think, in your next show. But yeah, every single planet has a specific frequency, and I love to play with my monochord, which is an instrument which was created by Pythagoras. And I can retune my monochord to all the specific frequencies, such as the planets, and then play them with my channeled voice as well.
Yes, and I did say there's lots of goodies in this episode for everyone. And at the end of this one, we're going to play you a planetary frequency sound, a planetary frequency attuned soundscape that Vanessa and I both created, actually. So we both collaborated on this one. That is part of basically what you're calling high frequency music. So let's tell everyone a little bit about this album of yours that's coming out, what it entails, what it does, and what the intention was for creating it.
So it took me 9 months to put this album and create this album, and it's was such a beautiful journey, because I was pregnant with Phoenix, so she is definitely a part of this creation, as well as my partner David. And I also actually collaborated with, some of you may know him, Owen Hanna, who plays the beautiful harp. He's also worked with Oracle Girl. And so it's a beautiful tapestry of sounds incorporating using the planets. So I focused on 5 different planets, and they're soundscapes versus music. So it's more about taking you on a journey, which they're about 30 minutes long, each track. And the planets that I've used is the Earth frequency, which is the Schumann frequency, the moon, planets of the moon, there's Venus, there's Neptune, and there is Uranus. And each of these planets, have a specific healing benefits for the body and for the person as well.
Great.
So there's the planets that have been used in there. My instrument that I've used is the monochord and my channeled voice. And I had David use his beautiful guitar, also tuning the guitar and the instruments all to these planetary frequencies. And then Owen also played the harp. Mm-hmm. And then along our travels, as we've gone to the Cederberg and out in nature, we've captured certain waterfalls and oceans. And so incorporating nature and into the album as well.
Let's take a look at
I've called it Nature Phonics.
Cover. Yeah, look at that.
And I've also had such a love for whales and dolphins. And so there are nature sounds in there as well. Beautiful dolphin sounds, whales, birds. And part of this album, there is also a charity angle where there's a project in South Africa called Sea Search. And some of the funds of this album will be going to their project, which is to really look after our marine life here in Cape Town. As a couple of weeks ago, we had Shell wanting to, what were they wanting to do? To do some mining.
Survey,
yeah, exactly.
Oil at the bottom of the ocean, and basically drop the equivalent of a nuclear bomb every 5 seconds on the bottom of the ocean, which would have a devastating effect on marine life. Fortunately, that was
Yeah.
overturned, but there's still a tremendous need to support marine life. So it's amazing to see that this is not just music created with intention that sounds beautiful, but then there's a looping back to actually support organizations that are doing something to regenerate the earth as well, and to actually help marine life, and to assist in the stewardship of our wonderful friends in the sea.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we're going to play you a clip from this
Yay.
at the end, and I want you to observe what this does to the waters in your body, what this does to your state of mind, what this does to your heart. So we're going to do that. But first, like in most of these, we're going to give away something really, really cool. And what that is, that I'm going to give away, that we're both going to give away, is actually something we both created. So it's great that Vanessa's here today, because what we're going to give away is something we created called Elevated Mind. So we're going to give away 1 copy of Elevated Mind to somebody live right now, and then 1 person in the comments. So we'll pick somebody that says it. Just say if you want this. And what Elevated Mind is, it's 6 carefully developed soundscapes for, like, this is really high quality, high frequency music for giving you a guided approach to basically retuning yourself. So we help with relaxation, letting go of traumatic experiences, regenerating. So there's one called Regeneration, which is about regenerating the cells and DNA in your body. Then there's one for connecting deeper with the heart, and then one for creativity, and then one that can be used anytime if you're ever in a panic situation. So it's really a great thing to do to calm the nerves. And you can go and check it out here. We've got a link below if you want to take a look and read about what all these soundscapes do. But we're going to give away 2 copies of this, because that's what we do on this show, is we like to just give away stuff for free. Any tools that we've found over the years that can help people optimize themselves and live a better life. So anybody in the comments that wants it now, just say your name, and I'll pick somebody from the comments now, and then somebody else later on can basically write in the comments below and pick one up. So 1 person wins from the live stream, and 1 person later. So let's just go over to our, okay, DCH, yes please, you are the winner. Okay, you have won. So congratulations. All you need to do to claim this gift is contact our admin at octaveleap.com, and our team will get you enrolled in this. And if somebody else wants it and didn't win now, just leave a comment below. Our team will come back to this later, and we'll pick another winner. And this is beautiful, because this is a collaboration between Vanessa and I. It's something we spent probably a year working on, doing the research to find the right frequencies, to create the right soundscapes, to put in the right brainwave entrainment schedules. And it has very powerful somatic effects. Always say is, do not use while driving. Do not use while operating heavy machinery, because you will be in a completely relaxed, deeper state after using these soundscapes. So yeah, that's basically, I'm very happy to be able to give these away. I think we both are. And what we're going to do here before we close out is we're going to give you 10 minutes of high frequency music that we've come prepared to show you today. So we're going to listen to one of the tracks off of Vanessa's album, off of Nature Phonics. And this one's called The Earth Frequency. So you might notice you feel a little bit more connected with your body. You might feel a little bit more connected with the earth itself, as opposed to blasting off into outer space. You might be more present. You might have a little bit more energy. You might have a little bit more connectivity running through your body between you and the natural world. So we're going to end very shortly here. Just going to see if there's any questions from any of you. Nope, no new questions. All right. So what we'll do is we'll play 10 minutes of this beautiful piece, and then you can just drift off into your day. But before we do that, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, share this video if you don't mind, because we want to grow Octave Leap and grow this community and make it more inclusive and empowering for all people that dream of a new, better world. Okay, so without further ado, let's take another look at Nature Phonics and actually get to listen to this beautiful piece that Vanessa, well, I'll call it Vanessa's. I just help with the whole thing essentially. So enjoy and take care.
Thanks, everyone.